Welcome back. In a moment, we'll be talking all things Vogue. But first, here are some other stories to keep an eye on. Typhoon Meranti's made landfall in China. The super typhoon landed in the country's southeast after making its way from Taiwan and has left residents in affected areas without power. Brazil's ex-president Lula da Silva is facing corruption charges. Federal prosecutors have accused him of orchestrating a scheme that cost the country's state-run oil company more than $12 billion. A criminal conviction would bar him from running for presidency in the country's next elections. A train crash in Pakistan has left at least 6 people dead and more than 150 injured. A Karachi-bound train collided with a freight train while passing through the central Punjab region. Style gurus will have their eyes on the British capital when London Fashion Week starts this weekend. This year's event coincides with another anniversary of another fashion institution, British Vogue, 100 years old today. An official exhibition is running in the UK to celebrate a century of the magazine and its impact on global fashion. Insight's Sarah Firth has been to take a look.
British fashion, with its swagger and style, likes to take centre stage. With London Fashion Week kicking off, we've been taking a look at where Britain stands in the fashion stakes and whether there's more substance to this glitz and glamour than meets the eye. And one publication has been documenting all the fashion weeks, the world-renowned photographers, models and designers for the last 100 years. Vogue is the self-described voice of the century. Now, for non-high fashion fans, that might seem a little overblown, but this is a publication with an edge. Born of war in 1916, during the chaos of the First World War, before women had gained the vote and we'd seen the first British female Prime Minister, the pages of Vogue have reflected British cultural history and tells the story of a changing nation. 100 years of Vogue. Why should people care about this now, though?
This exhibition shows that Vogue is so much more than a fashion magazine. Yes, of course, in the exhibition you can see the top models and the top designers' outfits, but actually what we really see is that Vogue was really engaging in the cultural life of the country and commissioning really important photographers to mark each decade. So what you see in the exhibition are some fantastic images that really give you a flavour of each particular decade.
Vogue's coverage goes far beyond hairdos and hemlines, taking its readers to the front lines, with war coverage that set it apart. It was Lee Miller, an American former Vogue model and pupil of world-renowned photographer Man Ray, who gave the magazine a new dimension when she became Vogue's war correspondent.
Lee Miller, she was so brave. She was attached to the American Army and she got to some of these really key war hotspots before the American troops did. And this one is a particular example. This is Hitler's Eagle Nest, just 10 minutes after the SS had just left, and literally they were sort of running away, running up the hill, and Lee Miller arrives with another photographer who here is holding the flash, and she takes this photograph. And what an act of bravery, because she could have still been shot. I mean, she was close enough within range to have been fired at, and she could have easily been killed, and here she was really sort of risking her life to get that image. And what an amazing image, really, that sums up the end of the war in 1945.
I mean, it is incredible frontline reporting that she did, and we've got more of her images there, but I think a lot of people wouldn't associate the two, would they? Vogue and war correspondence and documenting war in the way that Vogue did. But actually the magazine itself, born of war in some ways, in 1916, during all the chaos of the war.
That's right, and British Vogue really started, as you say, in 1916 because the American edition of Vogue couldn't be brought in, so British Vogue was created. And so this exhibition really marks that anniversary and shows that Vogue isn't just thinking about fashion and dress, but actually really engaging with political, economic, really fundamental issues that were going on in the country and in the world at the time. And this is a perfect example of that.
After the war, Vogue readjusted to reflect the new mood, with more of a focus on fashion. The exhibition takes you on a tour through the decades, from the elegant 20s through the swinging 60s to modern-day faces and back again. And featured in this exhibition are a number of priceless photographs.
This print is by Man Ray and it's from 1927, and it's one of the earliest examples of a photograph in the exhibition. And as you can see, it's tiny, especially when compared to some of the huge big prints that we've got in the more modern sections of the exhibition. And I think this, for me, this show has so many kind of really important photographers in it, you know, from Man Ray to David Bailey through to Mario Testino. So I think really for lovers of photography as well, this is an exhibition that will attract so many people to come and see, you know, these masters of photography throughout the ages.
More than 1,000 issues have documented the changes to British fashion over the decades. And as the models take to the catwalks again in London Fashion Week, designers around the world will be hoping to land their work in the pages of this iconic publication. Sarah Firth reporting for Insight.
Well, to discuss that further, I'm joined by Thierry Bale, who joins us with 20 years of experience in fashion and retail management. He's the founder of the company Global Fashion Management. It's not too simplistic to say Vogue is the style magazine. Is it the style magazine around the world, as well as UK and America?
Martin, thank you very much. Certainly Vogue is a key, I would say, place to look at for your style today. I mean, there's obviously competition, whether it's going to be Harper's, Elle, depending on the price point, as well as obviously the customer you're going to be targeting. But Vogue is at the top.
It really is the top. So happy birthday to them for the British one. What makes it so powerful, do you think? What have they got working in their favour that the top designers and the top shows want to use this as a channel to tell their story?
I think more than ever, it's about branding. To build your brand, you need to have it developed around the world. Vogue has that power to be able to first spot the new designers, spot the new trends, but also give them an international platform.
And it's a wonderful mix, isn't it, as a business model? Because of course it's got editorial and photography that people want to see and appreciate, but it carries advertising as well, often from the same people they're talking about. So that's quite complex.
It is. It is. I mean, obviously, I'm not inside a magazine or newspaper, so I wouldn't be able to give you the inside story. But certainly, I'm sure it helps to have the two working together.
And although we know they've got a massive audience in the UK, in the United States and other parts of Europe, what about the rest of the world? Does everyone still look to the UK, US fashion industry for advice?
That's a very interesting question. I think if we go back, 10, 20, 30, 50 years ago, everything was maybe working with French, Italian, American brands. Today, the competition has become really fierce and global. Today, you can go to a trade show, you can go on a fashion week, catwalk, and who will you see? Mexicans, Colombians, Brazilians. You're going to see Nigerian, South Africans. I mean, I was invited for a keynote presentation on brand building at the Beef and Bill show in Bangkok. Today, you've got talented Koreans, Japanese, Singaporeans, Malays. Today, the British have that competition.
Yeah, and that's getting interesting that the magazines decided to reflect that in their group, and now going to produce an edition for the Arabian market. Maybe a reflection of that increasing importance of that area.
I could totally agree. Yeah, there's much more designers coming from the Middle East. Yeah.
And is it that women around the world aspire to be the same, or do you think it's different designs, which then maybe cross-fertilize ideas back to Paris and back to Milan and back in time to New York?
I think the fusion has increased over the years. Look at how the African designers are able to actually make it on the international platforms and really build up globally, because they've managed to build that African culture and spirit together with a European influence. And I think that's the reason for
There's something of a shame, though, isn't it? Because it means everyone around the world ends up looking vaguely the same.
That's why some successful retailers are also trying not to have the same store concept in every part of the world, in every city in the world. And that's a very good question, is do you want to replicate exactly the same concept, the same image in every city and every country around the world?
But despite what you said, would you say London Fashion Week and a magazine like Vogue still has punching way above its weight, that people will take notice? They will see what's happening. You've got to, if you're in this kind of business.
If you're in this kind of business, definitely Vogue is the place to work with. It's the place, it's the magazine to look at and to read. At the same time, you need to bring, of course, influence from other countries because they also start making a serious step in the world of fashion.
And some of the designers who may well be producing women's wear for Western women, Alexander McQueen, for instance, has got burqas, I think, now in Harrods store in London.
Correct.
So, a sort of cathedral of fashion in many ways. So the globalization of this business, I suppose, gets more and more each day.
It's globalized, absolutely. One great thing about the British industry, fashion industry, we've got really good schools. And when you look at, Central St. Martin's, RCA, you look at London College of Fashion, you also see talented designers coming from different countries. And actually, Erdem from Turkey, but you also have Jimmy Choo, and you see that all those British brands are also having their designers coming from UK schools.
And here's a rather fundamental question I probably shouldn't ask, but how do they get away with charging so much for these clothes? They're not really worth that much, are they?
Sometimes the cost price could be just 5 to 15%.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
And that's still true today?
That is still true today.
Well, extraordinary. Well done then for getting it going. Thierry, thank you for being my guest today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
We end now with our Insight Bite. This is a little something that we feel you should know about. And today we're going to talk about Formula E. Now, Formula One's electric cousin has staged a daring event aimed at increasing awareness of global warming. In a world first, a zero-emissions electric race car was airlifted into the Arctic Circle, where racer Lucas de Grassi took it for a spin. The stunt was captured on a drone, and the driver took the opportunity to put the car through its paces on the unfamiliar terrain. Never mind the carbon footprint left just getting the car there in the first place. Well, that's all for now. I'm Martin Stanford, and that was Insight.